It's Tennessee Day here at SEC Media Days, and I want to start with the quarterback. That's obviously the most important position. Hendon Hooker impressed a lot of people last year, surprised a lot of people. He had some pretty good receivers beside him as well, a guy like Cedric Tillman. So what can we expect from Hendon Hooker in year 2 under Josh Heupel?
I think more of the same. Hendon Hooker caught a lot of people by surprise, I think including the coaches, because they didn't start him at the beginning of the year, right? This intrigued me. I was talking to somebody with the SEC Network earlier and said, boy, Hendon Hooker can run. Nobody knew that. Well, at Virginia Tech, he had 2 150-yard rushing games. Yes, you should have known he could run. What you didn't know is whether he could operate an up-tempo offense as efficiently as he did. And, in fact, Tennessee coaches didn't, I guess, necessarily see that in practice leading into the season. But when Milton went down, Hendon Hooker took over. 31 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions. That's the best touchdown to interception ratio in Tennessee history. 68% completion rate. That was the school record as well. Passing efficiency. He was terrific. And that's an offense that suits his game. Now, if you want to say we weren't sure about that, I'll go with you. To say you weren't sure he's mobile, I'll question that. But for him to be as efficient running that offense as he was, I give him a ton of credit, but also give a lot of credit to Josh Heupel and the offensive staff for taking advantage of his skill set.
Jimmy, of course, it's SEC Media Days week. There seems to be a lot of hype about a lot of teams. We talk about Alabama, Georgia, a team like South Carolina. Beamer was impressive yesterday. Heupel here at Tennessee is going to have a lot of eyes on him, a lot of eyes on these players, a lot of talk, a lot of extracurriculars around this Tennessee team before this season. Is there pressure? Is there pressure on this team? It feels like there's pressure every year because they're Tennessee. I mean, one of the top 20 programs in the history of college football. But is there kind of an added pressure this year because of the expectations?
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of added pressure. Now, what's interesting to me is I talked with Cole Kubelik, and he said, I asked him about the third best team in the SEC, and he said, maybe it's Tennessee. Roman Harper with the SEC Network, third best team in the SEC, maybe it's Tennessee. So there are a lot of people that are optimistic about Tennessee. I'm not quite at that level to where I think they're the third best team, but with the offense that they have and with the quarterback that they have and with the returners, I think a lot of people are really bullish on Tennessee. Now, I think they're going to score a ton of points. They set a school record last year for points scored. They could break that this year. Defensively, I still have some issues about that. But to your question about is there pressure? Yeah, there's pressure to be better than you were last year. Not pressure to win 10 games, not pressure to win the East Division, but pressure to be better than you were last year. Once you start heading in the right direction, you don't want to start falling back down the mountain, right? And so I think that Tennessee needs to win more games than it did a year ago.
Jimmy, you talked about the offense, of course, averaging almost 40 points a game. They're putting up first quarter numbers we haven't seen before in Tennessee football history. But second quarter comes, seems like they might have been one of the worst second quarter teams. So how does Josh Heupel and this staff try to find some consistency? Because it feels like that may be the next step for them to kind of put all 4 quarters together and then maybe beat an Alabama or beat a Georgia.
Yes, a good question. Last year they led the nation in first quarter scoring. I think they led the nation in the point differential in the first quarter. They got outscored in the second quarter. So a part of that you can attribute to the fact that defenses adjusted to the speed of the game. Here's the other part. How did Tennessee adjust? Did they not adjust well enough? What adjustments can they make as an opponent starts figuring out how to deal with the speed of the game? That's one of the things Tennessee has got to deal with. They got to get better at that because they cannot fall apart in the second quarter. They did against Purdue. Purdue outscored them, 16-0 in the second quarter. After Tennessee jumped on them, Purdue got right back in the ballgame. So that's going to be the chess match for Tennessee, is figuring out how to be better there. One way they could be better on offense, they weren't that good in third and short situations or fourth and short situations. They need to be better at converting that. They did a pretty good job converting third downs, but when it was third and short, they weren't that efficient. And that not only helps your offense, it helps your defense. And this defense will need all the help it can get.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine being the Tennessee defense last year, having to play as many snaps as they did. But, Jimmy, in today's day and age, you got to believe the value of a strong defense may be declining. I could be wrong in that. But, I mean, a lot of these teams, especially in the SEC, are putting up 30, 40, 50 points a game. So for Josh Heupel and Tennessee in this defense, is there is there all that pressure on them this year, because of the value of defense maybe going down? And I mean, if you score points, you're in the game.
Georgia might argue that the value of a defense is going down, but that was an historic defense. Right. For everybody else, we heard Nick Saban say not that long ago, You can't just win with a great defense anymore. You got to have offense. And I agree with that. Rare exceptions, but I agree with that. So, yeah, there is more pressure on the defense. And here's where I think they're kind of being built a little bit. It's like what the Indianapolis Colts did with Peyton Manning. They surrounded Manning with all these talented players at running back and wide receiver, tight end. And they said, we're going to score. Now, in the fourth quarter, how are we going to stop people? With Dwight Freeney as a pass rusher, with Robert Mathis as a pass rusher. So they got these pass rushers to get after opposing quarterbacks who had to throw in the fourth quarter to catch up. Tennessee needs Byron Young to develop into a really good pass rusher, a 10-sack guy for a season. They need Roman Harrison to step up as a pass rusher. They need Tyler Barron to step up as a pass rusher. They all have the ability to be better than they were. And so I think that's going to be a big part of this defense. Can you make that critical stop at a key moment in the game, typically in the fourth quarter, with a sack or with the big play? The secondary, to me, has got a lot of holes. I'm really concerned about the secondary. I like the safeties, the corners. I'm not very high on them. Linebacker, I think they're okay. But they have got to be able to develop a pass rush if they want to take that next step defensively.
Jimmy, I want to go a little bit away from football. Of course, Danny White, the new AD at Tennessee, has done so many things that just excite Tennessee fans. I mean, not only with the baseball program, everything with basketball, but putting up the Vols font on the stadium. I mean, Tennessee fans, older Tennessee fans probably really enjoyed seeing that. So from Danny White's perspective, are you surprised at how much he's already done and kind of the excitement and buzz that he's created in Knoxville?
I'm going to say no, but it's a twofold deal. I like a lot of the things he's done. The fundraising, look, he listens to the fan base. The VOLS on the stadium, a lot of fans wanted that back. He's done other things that fans like. Now, he's angered some fans with some of the new ticket policies, and they're not honoring lifetime contracts from some of the deals that were done to build Thompson Bowling Arena. So some of that stuff has bothered the fan base a little bit. But one reason I think he's having some success, one, he's an innovator, he's a visionary, and he's a very smart guy. But here's what else has helped him. Baseball team's pretty good, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They expanded the stadium. They went from averaging about 2,100 to about 4,400. And they had a lot of crowds of over 4,400 at that stadium. And they're going to improve that stadium. So, and then Tennessee won the All-Sports Trophy. First time they've ever won the SEC All-Sports Trophy overall. They also won it on the men's side. The women were second. In other words, all of those sports, almost every sport over Tennessee is doing well right now. Almost everyone. And they got 20 sports, and I'd venture to say 16 or 17 of them are doing pretty darn well. So I think that helps too when you've got overall success like that. Now, there's no question, though, the number one thing you got to do is fix football. They are fixing football. It's not there yet, but it's going in the right direction. And so, look, fans would rather, if you're going to lose 48-45. Don't lose 7-3 or
Right.
17-6. Okay, so at least you got something to cheer about. At least there's excitement. At least when you get behind in the game, you think you can come back because your offense is great. So I think all those things have allowed Danny White to have some success, as well as the work he's done too.
Jimmy, real quick here before I let you go, over-under for Tennessee, 9 wins this season. What are you going to go? You think they over-under 9 wins?
Can I count the bowl game?
Why not?
Gosh.
That makes it easier on you.
Because I'm to me, over under regular season, if you'd said 9, I'd go under. If I get to add the bowl game to it, I think they can get to 9. I'll go over if I can add the bowl game.
Over with the bowl. Okay. Yeah. You heard it here first from Jimmy Hyams from Sports Radio WNML. You can add him on Twitter if Tennessee fans aren't happy about that. But Jimmy, appreciate you taking the time.
You got it. Thanks for having me.